Yeah, well, I don't know that much about Stoicism, you know. I mean, I know that it's an ethic of endurance and willingness to bear responsibility and to make sacrifices. And I think part of the reason that there's been somewhat of a movement online in the Stoic direction and a resurgence of interest in Stoic philosophy is because it's pretty much exactly the opposite of every philosophy you ever hear about anywhere now.
It's fiction. We made it up. We made this one up. It's a made-up tale. It's a total fabrication. It never happened. It never happened. This one was invented by a writer.
How's it going? Welcome back to another great video with the majestic host, the Savior. Yes, welcome back. Now, today I'm going to be giving you another philosophical video. Please do check out the playlist of my philosophy videos because it really does mean a lot to me. If you are subscribed because of the gaming stuff, then maybe stick around and you might learn something or you might enjoy this. I did one not that long ago on Metaphysics, but today I'm going to be talking about Stoicism and basically how I lived like a Stoic for over a year. So I'm going to be going over this book a little bit because this book is probably now my #1 favorite book of all time. These videos never do well in the algorithm, but I don't care because I just want to talk about something I care about. I'm not trying to sell you some BS. I'm not a fake Stoic. I'm not a YouTuber or influencer using Stoicism as some kind of means to an end. Now, there are a lot of bad imitators out there on YouTube who use Stoicism as a way to make profit or market to you, like Andrew Holiday, who I believe is a marketer, not a Stoic, not a true Stoic anyway, or people like Andrew Kirby, for example, this young guy who uses Marcus Aurelius in his video titles and thumbnails, but actually he can't even get the right philosopher in his thumbnail, so that just goes to show he doesn't know what he's talking about. So I just want to make that clear. I'm not here to try and sell you a product. I'm not here to debase Stoicism. I have actually, in fact, lived like a Stoic for a year. Now, I don't expect this video to do that well, but I'm not doing it for the views. I just do it because this is something I care about. This is the most important thing to me, and just the most important thing in life in general, I believe, is the study of philosophy, and not studying philosophy as an academic subject, which I always preach not to do, but to live as a philosopher, because that is why we are so divided now in these modern times, because we have lost the idea of living as a philosopher. Science has kind of killed philosophy, even though philosophy was the precursor to science and metaphysics. And science itself now has become rather disconnected from the original goal of science, which is absolute objective truth. Now, you know, a lot of scientists can have different opinions on various subjects based around politics, which interfere with the objective truth. For example, just look at the whole transgenderism subject and the science on that.
Life's too short to exercise. I'm just gonna be honest. There are so many better things to do than exercise. See right here. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Tell me what you're thinking and feeling right now, Jerry. I'm hurt.
It's quite clear to me, obviously, which is the correct science, and the Stoics talk about how we should be proud of our nature, or not to interfere with nature. You know, men and women were given by God, by universe, these, you know, traits that stand out to us, like the hair on our chin for the men, and the more softness of women, and not to interfere with that because these are definable features that are given to us by nature. And Stoicism is all about living in accordance with nature and virtue, and observing your actions and your judgments and understanding what they are, simple impressions and perceptions. If you like gaming content or philosophical videos, then you've come to the right place, because I do both. Support me by dropping a donation. That would mean a lot. That's how I can make more of these philosophy videos. And I am currently working on my own philosophy, which will be published at some point. Join the RUER movement. That is the movement that I've created. It's bringing back principles from the Roman Empire.
It may seem difficult at first, but everything is difficult at first. You may abandon your own body, but you must preserve your honor.
So yes, today is a little bit of a callback to those kind of fake videos on YouTube. I lived like Marcus Aurelius for 1 month, or I lived like Marcus Aurelius for over a year. But yes, I have lived like a Stoic for a year. Now, my studies around philosophy, especially Stoicism, because I cover Taoism as well as Zen Buddhism, and I'm combining them all into my own philosophy. But Stoicism and the ancient Cynics are the most important to me. Also, I find Epicureanism quite interesting, but that's going to be a different philosophy video later down the line where I compare the two. Stoicism to me is the thing that can really bridge the divide and bring us closer together, because we are living in a state of divide at the moment with modern day technology, big tech corporations using their media and social media to segregate us even further into these echo chambers. The political system that is completely rigged and broken. We can't really rely on the government or even the media that we used to trust, because information is now out there, but we are being told certain information, lies constantly, and it's up to us to find the truth. I often do talk about the death of religion in my philosophy videos, because I do feel like that is a big thing, a big reason as to why we are in this state of confusion at the moment, and a lack of, connected culture and creativity and compassion for one another, and the ability to actually be able to debate and question the systems in place and the authority that we live under, the state and the government, the political systems, and the media that we consume, why it's all become rather regurgitated and usually washed down by some kind of ideology. Enough of that, let's just talk about today's subject. So what I've learned from living as a Stoic for over a year now. So like I said, my studies began when I was about 23, something like that. I'm now 26. It was very light to begin with. I started off with Seneca. I would not recommend that. I would recommend starting off with Epictetus and then moving on to Marcus Aurelius and then perhaps Seneca and some others, or reading some of the earlier Cynic works. I have also delved into Nietzsche a little bit, but I don't think his ideas were very productive or very useful. The idea of the Übermensch can be taken to the extreme, and that's kind of gave birth to a lot of bad ideas. Just look at what happened in Germany in World War II. A lot of that can be attributed to Nietzsche, which I'll talk about in a different video in the future. But anyway, so this book here, How to Think Like a Roman Emperor. So to some degree, I've lived like a Roman emperor for over a year. You can say this video to me, this book, to me, is one of the great books, okay? So this is not, coming directly from Marcus Aurelius. It's not his meditations. It's not the letters of a Stoic, like something like Seneca wrote or Epictetus or anything like that. This is a collection of works, and it's basically how to integrate Stoicism into your life currently. Because if you don't know, Stoicism was actually kind of the precursor to the cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, which is very useful for someone like me who deals with anxiety as a disorder. But a lot of people suffer from depression and anxiety, so I think that this book can be really helpful to you.
You always own the option of having no opinion. Ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary?
This book basically goes through his life and the people in his life, because you need to understand the people he was interacting with, the system of the Roman Empire, how this was such a great system and how it's still the best system out there, I would say. Obviously, it needs tweaking, but it did lead to the longest amount of peace that we've ever seen in human history, the Pax Romana. And it's just such an interesting book because it delves into exactly why Stoicism is important. A lot of modern day interpretations of Stoicism is completely false. A strong giga-chad man who doesn't show any emotions, that hides his emotions, that doesn't have any empathy or feeling towards another human being, something like that. It's just completely stupid. This is completely false. Stoicism is all about controlling things that are within your control, letting go of external things. Amor fati, which is the love of fate, that's also a very important Stoic principle. So is memento mori, which is, I keep my little memento mori here. You might think this is rather stupid, but yeah, this is mine, and it basically just reminds me of death every single day, which is a nice positive thought. Negative visualization, even though I don't really practice in that as much. Stoicism, mostly, what it teaches you is how to be aware of your perceptions, because when you understand that reality itself is simply a perception, and that we view things as good and bad, and actually they don't hold any true inherent meaning until they become actions. They are simply a perception before then. If you talk about greater society and morality, then it's a different conversation, something that Socrates argued about. But when you're looking as an individual, everything is simply a perception, and Stoicism is all about controlling your perceptions and your judgments, because judgments lead to, either a rational perception or a completely irrational perception, which then can create an irrational thought, then that can create an irrational action and lead to, the opposite of virtue. Stoicism is all about trying to reach virtue, which is basically the Buddhist version of enlightenment, and that is living in accordance with nature, doing the best for yourself and society and the people around you, and living a good, honest life. How to view my passions with rationality, and understanding how my emotions affect my rationality, because rationality is the most important thing for the Stoics, and I think that should be true for all humans. Because with rationality and empathy and greater understanding the reason as to why you get angry or why you feel resentful towards someone else, understanding that and understanding that the anger itself does more harm to you than the person you're angry with, or the idea of, for example, you haven't been hurt unless if you feel like you've been hurt. Understanding that the perception of someone onto you only has value if you give it value. The way of thinking as a Stoic transforms your life into liberation and freedom, because you basically analyze everything, which sounds rather exhausting, and it can be, but it makes you realize that a lot of social conceptions are imprinted onto us from a very young age, and our original consciousness is in that, and basically how to return to nature. And I just find that so liberating and freeing, and you will let go of negative emotions. I can't say that it's cured my anxiety. I still suffer from anxiety. I still battle with it every single day, but Stoicism has definitely helped with that. But what it has helped more with is just my greater understanding and letting go of petty emotions like anger, resentment, or sadness or fear. I'm not saying that I don't get these, but Stoicism teaches you to be a better person, to live a life of virtue. This book also talks about the choice of Hercules, because Hercules, you must know who he is, basically a great demigod, Greek figure, I should say. He was given a choice at one point to go down the road of virtue, which is going to be difficult, full of trials and errors, but at the end, you will be better for it. Self-improvement, the journey of self-improvement. This is what gives our life meaning, or going down the easy road, never being Hercules, never facing the trials. If you live a life of comfort, if you seek a life of, just easiness and pleasure, kind of like Epicureanism, this won't actually give your life meaning, okay? Because you have to struggle, you have to learn, because through these trials and errors, that's how you can become a better person. In this modern day society, we suddenly look at difficulties with kind of a negative construct, because we like to think that we can just live in the society kind of guilt-free and just chase pleasures and conform to society, and never have to go for anything challenging and just follow what society has laid out for you. You know, work a 9-to-5 job, go home, watch Netflix or play games, or, you know, seeking comfort instead of challenge. And I think this is what's stifling our culture and our strength as people. And Stoicism is all about accepting the difficulties of life, understanding that life is suffering, just like the Buddha understands that life is suffering, but looking at the good and the bad with love, empathy, and rationality, and understanding that, you know, we are just animals at the end of the day. We are living in this nature world, and to try and control nature is irrational itself. Stoicism makes you examine your thoughts. It makes you question your own actions, because your thoughts often lead to actions.
Think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly. Someone despises me. That's their problem. Everything is born from change.
Virtue itself is the thing that will give your life happiness. Pleasure and happiness are just fleeting emotions, but moral virtue for yourself and for society will actually lead to a greater life while you are here. And letting go of the material, for example, you cannot ever be robbed, because if you don't value the material, by having someone steal from you, you haven't actually lost that item. I know that sounds weird, but it basically just breaks down your understanding of everything and how to look at things with rationality and compassion. And I do honestly think Stoicism makes you a better person, and those are some of the things that I've learned from being a Stoic for over a year, and how it's transformed my life, and how I think it can transform society to be better and greater. You don't have to be religious to be a Stoic. Some Stoics did believe in God, or whatever God is, whatever that definition of God might mean to you. The point of Stoicism is even Epictetus, who was a slave, was in fact free. If you detach yourself, if you look at things with an objective truth instead of a subjective way of thinking, then you can free yourself. The point of Stoicism is even someone who is, you know, locked up in prison, or is a slave to someone else, or, you know, someone who is bedbound, can still be free, because the gift of humanity, the gift of our nature, the gift of our consciousness is the fact that we can free ourselves in the metaphysical level, in the spiritual level, by using rational thought, consciousness, seeking virtue, and examining how we perceive things, because everything is opinion.
It may seem difficult at first, but everything is difficult at first. You may abandon your own body, but you must preserve your honor.